All right, so get ready to have your mind blown because we're about to go deep into a topic that's both fascinating and a little bit taboo.
Oh, I love it when we get to explore these kind of things.
Me too. So today we're diving into this book, Great Sex Naturally, by Dr. Laurie Steelsmith.
Okay, I've heard of her.
Yeah, she's a naturopathic doctor, and in this book, she's like really challenging this whole idea that we need conventional medicine to you know, fix everything,
Right.
especially when it comes to women's sexual health. So get ready for some seriously empowering stuff because this deep dive is all about exploring natural approaches to boost libido, enhance pleasure, and just basically have a way better sex life.
I'm all ears.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, I guess what really stood out to me is how Dr. Steelsmith takes this super holistic view, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's like she's saying that our sexual health isn't just about our physical body, it's about our emotions, our environment. Like all of it is connected, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So where do we even begin to unravel this whole holistic approach to sex?
Well, she starts by introducing us to what she calls the great sextet.
Ooh, the sextet. I like it already.
Right. So the sextet, basically the 6 hormones that play a major role in our sexual well-being. We've got estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, cortisol, and thyroid hormone.
Okay. A lot to unpack there. Hormones, they can be so confusing. Can you break it down for me? How do these hormones actually impact what we experience in the bedroom?
Yeah, for sure. Let's take estrogen, for example. A lot of people think it's just about vaginal lubrication, but it actually does way more than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it affects our mood, our energy levels, even how much serotonin, the feel-good hormone our brains produce.
Wow. So it's not just about being physically ready for sex. It's about our brains being on board too.
Exactly. So if your estrogen levels are low, it could be really hard to even get in the mood, let alone enjoy the experience fully.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then there's progesterone.
Yeah.
Now this one, it's often thought of as the pregnancy hormone, right?
Right.
But it's also super important for supporting our adrenal glands. Our
Yeah.
adrenal glands, they're like our stress handlers, basically.
Yeah.
So when we're chronically stressed, our progesterone can take a nosedive, and that can lead to fatigue and low libido.
So that explains why when I'm stressed out, sex is the last thing on my mind.
Exactly. Your body's like, nope, not in the mood for this right now.
Yeah.
Try to protect you.
Interesting. Okay, what about DHA? What's that one all about?
Oh, DHEA is like the rock star of the hormone world.
Mhm.
It not only cranks up our libido, but also contributes to a sense of well-being. And there's some research suggesting it might even be good for memory and bone density as we age.
Okay, I need to learn more about DHEA for sure.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Now, testosterone, this one's interesting because people often think of it as a male hormone.
Right, right.
But women have it too, just in smaller amounts.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it plays a huge role in our desire and arousal. It's what gets those sparks flying in our brains.
So if a woman is feeling a little less interested in sex than usual, could that be a testosterone issue?
It could be. It's definitely something to consider. Okay, and then we have the infamous cortisol, the stress hormone.
Oh, cortisol. We all know that one.
Right. And like we were talking about with progesterone, when cortisol levels are high for too long, it throws off the balance of our whole hormonal system.
So it's like a domino effect.
Exactly. And that includes our sex hormones. Chronic stress can really put a damper on our libido.
Makes sense. Okay, last but not least, thyroid hormone. What's its role in all of this?
Thyroid hormone, it might not seem like it's directly related to sex, but it's actually super important for energy production in all our cells, including, the ones down there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So if your thyroid is sluggish, you might find yourself feeling tired all the time and just not really in the mood for anything, let alone sex.
So basically, if our hormones are out of whack, our sex lives are going to suffer.
Pretty much. Hormones are like the conductors of the orchestra of our sexuality. If they're not in sync, the music's not going to sound so good.
Love that analogy. Okay, so now that we know how important these hormones are, what can we actually do to get them back in balance? What does Dr. Steelsmith recommend?
Well, she's a big believer in natural approaches like lifestyle changes, herbs, and even bioidentical hormone replacement therapy if it's needed.
Okay, so we have options. It's not like we're just stuck with whatever our bodies are doing.
Exactly. We have a lot more power than we think. But, it's not just about hormones.
Oh, right. What else is there?
Well, Dr. Steelsmith really emphasizes the importance of what she calls our sexual core.
Our sexual core. I'm intrigued. What is that exactly?
Well, it's basically our pelvis.
Our pelvis. Like our bones.
Well, it's more than just bones. Think of it as this powerful center of energy that literally grounds us and connects us to our sensual selves.
Okay, I'm starting to see the pelvis in a whole new light.
Right. And when this core is strong and balanced, it can really enhance our sexual pleasure and overall well-being.
So how do we, like, tap into this sexual core power? What can we actually do?
Well, there are specific exercises that can help strengthen the muscles in this area, like Kegels, for example.
Oh, right, Kegels. I've heard of those.
Yeah. And then there's dance, moving our hips, engaging those core muscles. It can really awaken our sensual energy and make us feel more alive in our bodies.
So we can literally dance our way to a better sex life.
Exactly. And there's this concept in Chinese medicine called qi.
Chi.
Yeah, it's like this vital life force energy that flows through our bodies. And the pelvis is like a major hub for this energy.
Wow, that's fascinating. I'm starting to see how all of this is connected, our physical body, our energy, our emotions. It's all intertwined.
It totally is. And this interconnectedness is especially important when we start talking about common sexual health challenges.
Okay, yeah, like what kinds of challenges?
Well, things like vaginal dryness,
Mm.
infections, painful periods, and even urinary incontinence.
Stuff that so many women deal with but don't always feel comfortable talking about.
Exactly. And the good news is there are natural solutions out there that can make a big difference.
So let's talk about those common sexual health challenges, the stuff that like so many women experience, but we don't always talk about.
Yeah, it can feel really isolating, right?
Totally, like you start to think you're the only one.
Exactly. But you're not alone. And you know what's so cool about Dr. Steelsmith's approach is that she offers these like really specific natural remedies for each issue.
Okay, I'm all about natural remedies. So like, let's say I'm dealing with vaginal dryness. What kind of natural remedies are we talking about here?
Okay, so for vaginal dryness, she suggests things like vitamin E suppositories.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever tried those?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, they can be really helpful. And then there are these herbal blends with black cohosh and wild yam. They can help restore moisture and balance things out.
Interesting. I've heard of black cohosh, but I didn't realize it could help with that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Okay, what about vaginal infections?
Ugh, those are so annoying.
I know, right? They can really throw things off.
Yeah,
For those, she recommends golden seal root. Have you heard of that one?
I think so, but I don't really know what it is.
Yeah, it's basically this herb that has like these antimicrobial properties, so it can help fight off the bad bacteria. And then she also suggests these friendly bacteria suppositories to help restore the good bacteria in your vagina.
Makes sense. It's all about balance, right?
Exactly. Okay, what about period cramps?
Oh, those are the worst.
I know, and they can really mess with your sex drive.
Tell me about it.
So Dr. Steelsmith is a big advocate for exercise. Even gentle movement can help ease cramping. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, actually, I have.
Yeah, it can make a big difference. And then she also talks about acupressure, specifically targeting this point called spleen 6.
Acupressure. I've always wanted to try that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Basically, you're just applying pressure to specific points on your body.
And that can help with cramps.
Yeah, it's thought to regulate blood flow and reduce pain.
I'm definitely going to look into that.
Okay, and then there's urinary incontinence. Do we want to talk about that one?
Yeah, let's go there. It's something that I think a lot of women, especially as we get older, kind of, brush under the rug.
Right, like it's embarrassing or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's actually really common.
It is. And there are things you can do to help. Kegels are like the go-to exercise for this.
Oh, right. Kegels.
Yeah, they help strengthen your pelvic floor muscles, which can improve bladder control.
Makes sense.
And, it's not just about preventing leaks. A strong pelvic floor can actually enhance your orgasms too.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, it's all connected, like we were saying before. So, if someone is listening and they're dealing with any of these issues, or maybe they just feel like lost and overwhelmed when it comes to their sexual health, what would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, you're not alone, and there is help out there. What does Dr. Steelsmith recommend?
Well, she really encourages people to consult with a licensed naturopathic physician.
Okay, so someone who can take a more holistic approach.
Exactly. They can look at your whole picture, your lifestyle, your diet, your stress levels, all of it, and then come up with a personalized plan.
I love that. It's like having a guide on your journey back to, feeling good in your body.
Totally. Speaking of feeling good, we can't talk about great sex naturally without talking about diet.
Oh, right. The food. What's the scoop?
Well, she has this whole thing called the Great Sex Diet. And it's basically all about eating foods that nourish your body and support your hormonal balance.
Okay, so no crazy restrictions or anything.
Nope. It's all about enjoying delicious whole foods that make you feel good from the inside out.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
But what about supplements? Are there any that she recommends for, like, boosting libido and stuff?
Oh, yeah, there are a bunch.
Yeah.
One that she talks about a lot is rhodiola. You've ever heard of that one?
I think so, but I don't know much about it.
It's an adaptogen, which means it helps your body deal with stress. And like we were saying before, stress can really kill your libido.
Right, right. That's
So
right.
rhodiola can help with that. But it also, like, directly boosts energy, mood, and libido.
So it's like a double whammy.
Exactly. And there's even some research suggesting it might help with fertility.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm definitely adding rhodiola to my list.
I'll do one. She also recommends vitamin C.
Oh, vitamin C for, like, colds and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's good for that too, but it's also really important for adrenal hormone production, remember?
Oh, right, right.
And then there's pantothenic acid. It's another B vitamin that supports your adrenals.
So we're talking about supplements that kind of work on multiple levels to support our overall health, not just like, one specific thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about creating this, like, synergy in your body.
I love that. Okay, what about those Chinese sexual tonics we talked about earlier? The ones with like the really long history.
Yes. Dr. Steelsmith talks about epimedium, which has been used as a libido enhancer for, like, centuries.
Half a medium. Okay. How does that one work?
Well, it's thought to, like, stimulate those sensory nerves,
Mm.
increase blood flow to, your sexual organs, and even boost levels of serotonin and dopamine.
Okay, so it's like hitting all the right buttons.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But, it's important to remember that herbs can be powerful, so it's always good to approach them with respect.
Right, like do your research and all that.
Exactly. And with epimedium specifically, it's considered a yang herb in Chinese medicine, which means it's very stimulating. So for women, it's often recommended to balance it out with yin herbs.
Yin and yang. Okay. What are those?
It's basically this, like, concept of opposite but complementary forces. Yang is more like, fiery and energetic, while yin is more cooling and grounding.
So it's about finding the right balance.
Exactly. You don't want to be too yanged out,
Makes sense. Are there any other libido boosting herbs worth mentioning?
Let's see. So she also talks about reishi mushroom, which has this, like, ancient reputation as an aphrodisiac. And then there's maca, which is an adaptogen that can help balance hormones and might boost libido.
Okay, cool. And I remember you mentioned something about super libido foods.
Oh, yeah. Those are coming up later. We're saving the best for last.
You're killing me. Okay, so we've covered hormones, we've covered herbs, but we can't forget about Tantra.
Yes.
It's
Tantra.
like shrouded in mystery for a lot of people.
It is, but it doesn't have to be. It's actually, like, a really beautiful and empowering practice.
Okay, so demystify it for me. What is Tantra all about?
So it's not just about sex. It's about, like, expanding your erotic horizons and experiencing sex in a more mindful and connected way.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Well, it's about slowing down,
Mhm.
being present, really paying attention to the sensations in your body and the energy between you and your partner.
So it's less about like the goal of orgasm and more about the journey.
Exactly. It's about letting go of that performance pressure and just allowing yourself to be fully present in the moment.
That sounds amazing, but also kind of intimidating. Like, where do you even begin?
Well, one of the key principles of Tantra is this idea of transformative sex.
Transformative sex.
Yeah. It's about seeing sex as this opportunity for growth and connection, not just a physical act.
Okay, I like that.
And because you're, like, so present and aware during tantric sex, it can actually last way longer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're not talking about, like, forcing anything, but rather about cultivating this deep connection and awareness that can lead to extended pleasure.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. So besides transformative sex, what are some of the other key principles of Tantra?
Well, there's freedom from goal-oriented sex, which we already touched on. It's basically about, like, letting go of the need to reach orgasm and just enjoying the experience for what it is.
Makes sense. What else?
Extended pleasure, using different techniques to, like, sustain arousal and enjoyment for longer periods. And then sacred sexuality, which is this idea of viewing sex as, like, a pathway to spiritual awareness and connection.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Right. It's like taking sex to a whole other level.
It is. Okay, so we've got the principles, but what about the practical stuff? Like, how do we actually bring Tantra into the bedroom?
Well, the beauty of Tantra is that you can start small. Just begin by, like, slowing down during sex, paying attention to your breath, focusing on the sensations.
Okay, so just be more present.
Exactly. And then, if you want to go deeper, there are tons of resources out there like books, workshops, even online courses.
Cool. This is so empowering. It's like we have the power to create these amazing sexual experiences for ourselves.
We totally do.
Okay, so we've talked about hormones, we've talked about herbs, we've talked about tantra. I feel like we've covered so much ground already.
We have, but we're not done yet. There's still so much more to explore.
Oh, good. Because I'm ready for more. What's next?
Well, now that we've kind of laid the groundwork, let's dive into some specific strategies and techniques from great sex naturally that you can start implementing, like right away.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. Let's do it. All right, so tantra, pretty mind-blowing stuff, right?
It is. It's like a whole new way of thinking about sex.
Totally. But I'm also ready to get into some more like practical tips from great sex. Naturally, like what can we actually do to, spice things up in the bedroom?
Well, one thing that Dr. Steelsmith really emphasizes is the importance of understanding your own anatomy.
Okay, like what do you mean?
Well, she has this whole chapter dedicated to the clitoris.
The clitoris. Wait, I thought I already knew, like the basics.
You might be surprised. A lot of women don't realize just how complex and extensive the clitoris actually is.
Really?
Yeah, most of it is actually internal, like it extends deep within the pelvis and surrounds the vagina.
What?
Yeah.
Seriously? So the part we see, that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. And understanding this hidden anatomy can be a total game changer for experiencing more pleasure.
Okay, I am definitely going to have to read that chapter. It's like we're uncovering hidden treasure within our own bodies.
I know, right? And speaking of treasures, remember those super libido foods we talked about?
Oh, yes, the food. Give me all the details.
Okay, so get ready for some deliciousness because she talks about things like dark chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. I knew it.
Right. It contains this compound called phenylethylamine, which releases dopamine and norepinephrine in the brain. And those are like the feel-good chemicals associated with pleasure and excitement.
So chocolate really is an aphrodisiac. What else? What else is on this list?
Avocados.
Avocados, yum.
They're packed with healthy fats, vitamin E, and potassium, all of which support healthy blood flow and hormone production.
Okay, so avocados, chocolate. This is my kind of diet.
Right. And then she also recommends figs and dates.
Figs and dates. Interesting.
Yeah. They're rich in amino acids, which are thought to boost sexual stamina.
Figs, dates, chocolate, avocados. This is way more fun than I thought healthy eating could be.
It is. And remember, it's not just about specific foods. It's about creating an overall dietary pattern that nourishes your body and supports your well-being.
Right, like a holistic approach to eating.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered so much in this deep dive. Hormones, herbs, tantra, food. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But hopefully it's been inspiring and empowering.
Totally. So as we wrap up, what are some of the key takeaways you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think the biggest one is that there's so much power in taking a holistic approach to female sexuality.
Yeah.
It's not just about one thing. It's about understanding how everything, our minds, our bodies, our spirits, are all connected.
Yeah, like we've been saying, it's all intertwined.
Exactly. And what I love about Dr. Steelsmith's book is that it really empowers women to take control of their sexual health. It gives them the tools and knowledge to create the experiences they want.
Absolutely. Okay, before we go, I'd love to leave our listeners with a final thought, something to really ponder.
Okay, how about this? Throughout this whole deep dive, we've been talking about the pelvis as our sexual core, right? We've explored exercises to strengthen it, foods that nourish it, and practices that can awaken its energy.
Mhm.
So the question is, now that you know all of this, what steps will you take to reclaim and enhance your own sexual energy?
Wow, that's a powerful question, and one that I hope all of our listeners will take some time to reflect on.
Me too, because we all deserve to experience fulfilling and joyful sex lives.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this incredible deep dive into great sex naturally.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of our amazing listeners out there, thank you for being here with us. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world of female sexuality.